So, first and foremost, we have a very, 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 very funny little topic. Again, we're talking about the great comic book movie decline, superhero movie decline, as I've been corrected, which is fine. I would agree with that. But first and foremost, look, Blue Beetle. It's projected to open. It's projected to open to about $12 million, but its entire domestic run is $27 to $55 million. Entire domestic run. That is absolutely woeful.
Oh,
so a projected opening of $12 million opening weekend domestic.
Oh,
long range estimates is $27 to $55 million. What do we think? The reported budget is $120 million. So that's going up and up and up. The marketing has not been huge, but they've obviously spent some money on it. Thoughts? I think this is another bomb waiting to happen. And, you know, we get accused of talking about bombs all the time, but with this as long range tracking, this is not good. So, Culture, I can see you want to say stuff. Let's go.
I always want to say stuff. This is a catastrophe.
It's real bad.
I mean, they pulled this out of obscurity because it was headed for the streaming service to turn it into a legitimate Hollywood film, and they should have just left it stuffed in that other box because this is bad news. And they won't let them do reshoots. I think we covered that last week, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, this film probably needs them pretty bad. I mean, this is not going to be good. This is an unknown character with an up and coming actor. This could actually set Zolo's career back if it's this bad. And I don't know. Why even run this in theaters now? You know, at this point, why not just pull it off and do it? You know, do a special premiere presentation on your Max streaming service or something.
Well, that's what they were supposed to do. It was supposed to be an HBO Max film, wasn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah. I there is no good to this, and it's quite telling because I think this is going to be this is an indicator of the fact what's going to happen to Miss Marvel and what's going to happen to Aquaman 2 and everything else. It's just this is going to be more extreme because it is an unknown character to most people. So those are my thoughts anyway.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are annoyed because, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of Blue Beetle. I don't know anything about him, but loads of people are saying that they've race swapped him. I don't know if that is the case. I'm not sure, but maybe that is part of it as well. You know, that's got people on the back foot who maybe were fans of Blue Beetle. I don't know. Again, I don't
think Blue Beetle has enough fans for them that they being annoyed is going to shave 100 million of the projections. I don't think he has $100 million worth of fans who stay away because of any kind of race bending, which may or may not have happened.
Well, so that the other thing that's important to consider about Blue Beetle, right, is this is the first movie that David Zaslav watched over under DC.
Are we sure about that? Was this filmed after Zaslav came in? Did Zaslav hand? I'm not sure that's true.
Really?
As far as I know, the first movie that he signed off on was the Joker 2, was it not? I do believe that Blue Beetle
maybe I'm wrong on that.
Way in development from the previous regime.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
It's a leftover from the Ansarnov, and it's basically a spin-off from yet another spin-off from the Shazam. Like, you could be right, but I'm almost positive that the first thing that Zaslav signed off on was Joker 2, and Blue Beetle was already, well, he may have given the final green light, but it was already way into development, whereas Zaslav was the one who gave the order, I want more of that, give me a Joker 2.
Yeah, I think that was the first one. I think that was the first one that was greenlit, but this was the DC movie that he was in power whilst it was shooting. Because I'm pretty certain he moved it from HBO.
That could very well be that he was in power while it was shooting, but it's still an inherited project.
You
know, when
he thought it was good enough to release in theaters.
Yeah.
Nick, I was just going to say, when these studios are coming up with project ideas. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the room where they're like,
Oh,
"Oh
God,
yeah, Blue
yeah.
Beetle." Like
Oh,
like when I
no.
heard this announcement, like I collected comic books and read comic books growing up. Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, like all of them. I had a huge comic book collection.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Blue Beetle. You know, which goes to show when I was reading comic books back in the day, it was just main ones that I was interested in. But yeah, I don't know who thought this was a good idea to even make this movie to begin with.
I think as a I think as an HBO film, it's a good idea, but not with a budget of $120 million.
Oh,
Jesus
good God, no.
Christ.
Yeah.
Hell no. But as an HBO film, I think it's a good idea. Thoughts on that? Because I think if you could make this for half that money or a third of that money, which in fairness you probably could have, to be fair.
Well, it looks like
I think
they
that's a good business move for an HBO project.
Yeah, I think they did spend half that money. It looks like it. I mean, let's just be fair.
And then they pocketed the rest.
Yeah, I mean, this is CW quality level production for the most part, with maybe a little bit of extra bells and whistles, like the early first season of Flash. But looking at it, I mean, you go back a year ago, August, almost a full year ago, and Zaslav was still all in on this project. It was one of the few that he had highlighted that were sticking around after he put the Batgirl thing in the trash can. This is one that they were still saying, well, this is moving forward. This is moving forward way back then. So, in that list of complaints that they had was also Black Adam, which was terrible. And many other things. I think at that time they were still doing that. What was it? Black Canary or something? They still had that in the works, and they had like Black
Je suis Smollett Bell or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's and I mean they've been singing the praises of this film for a long time, and I think we're actually 2 years separated from Zaslav taking over at Warner Brothers Discovery, taking charge of that after the Reverse Morris Trust, if I'm not mistaken. So this film's been coming for a while. It's obviously had Zaslav's backing. I don't know if he greenlit it. I'm there with Andre. I think it may have been in the works. Well,
yeah,
before.
I think I'm a bit mistaken by that, but he was the reason it moved from HBO Max to theaters.
Yeah, and the answer to your question though is yeah, this would have made sense on the streaming service. It would not. It does not make sense on the big screens. It just doesn't.
Not for $120 million.
But I do believe that a big part of the reason for that actually could be Wonder Woman 1984, because that was a movie which was made for theaters, ended up in streaming, and in order to do that, because of the contracts that already were with the talent that guaranteed them some like gross box office points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If that is the case here, just in order to make that happen, they had to assume that the movie was going to make $1 billion, to give them the maximum payout that they could get in order to not be sued over putting it on HBO Max. Now, probably they were all burned on that experience, and it's not like Warner Brothers Discovery is doing too hot these days. There's very persistent rumors that the only thing that Zaslav wants to do with it is to fix it and then flip it, which probably is true. But in order to stay in business, he's going to need some money. And at the time when the decision was made, they probably thought that this movie right here is going to make us $100 million, whereas on streaming it's not going to make us jack shit, because you don't make money from streaming. On streaming, it's basically just part of the overall package. So you can just pretty much write off everything you spent. Whereas this movie right here, put it in theaters, get $100 million. Hey, you've broken even, and you may have a tiny little thing right here. That's something nice to tell your shareholders. So that's the whole reason why they did this, because Zaslav came in at the point where after speaking with Gunn, he decided we're going to reboot this whole thing. But unfortunately, there's still 3 movies which are in development. They have to be released. Those 3 movies between them represent probably more than $1 billion in production. What do? Do you write up that $1 billion, or do you put them out in theaters and hope to recoup as much as possible of them and give them the support that you can, trying to bring up that box office? That's obviously what he did. Now, the problem with that is that then that way they identify themselves with the movies, and this is where James Gunn really screwed up.
Yeah,
First, he came out and he talked about how amazing The Flash was. Big mistake, because no one of actual humans who watched it thought The Flash was amazing. And then he went and said, "Oh, the Beetle, that's the kind of like the first character in my universe, so be excited for him." Yeah, no, if anything, what happened is that people are now less excited about your reboot. Would have been far better to say nothing in advance and then go and take credit afterwards if the movie turned out to be a hit. Whereas now they have reassociated themselves with failures, thereby ensured that the stench of those failures will be with them into the next reboot.
Yeah. So do we think? Sorry to interject there just a little bit. Do we think this is accurate? 12 million opening weekend, 27 to 55 million. If this movie's dead on arrival, do we think this is accurate? Because I have a strong suspicion it is. I think this is actually accurate. I think it genuinely could. I think it will do under $100 million domestic for its whole run. I genuinely think that's realistic.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. I feel like that this is a realistic number. It feels like a Mortal Kombat number to me, right? An unwanted, unasked for Mortal Kombat film got made, and this is kind of the equivalent of that. So I'm not surprised. I'm really not.
Andre, realistic or not? What do we think?
I think this is very realistic. Just look at what's happened with everything else. I mean, this is the year where the box office or big budget blockbusters, unless you're Barbie, they fall.
Oh dear. Well, yeah, Barbie lied on all of its marketing as well. I watched Barbie today. Fucking hell, that's bad.
I look forward to seeing your review on it.
I've already released it, mate. It is.
Yeah, I know. I'm great to look forward to seeing that.
I'm seeing several guys out there that like the film, and I'm just like, dude, you totally lost your man card on that.
Yeah. So yeah, look, we don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, it was
something.
It was. That is the headline on my thumbnail. This was a thing. Oh dear. Anyway.